Hello everyone and welcome to my sitting room. This is Jane Burke again to give you another wee demonstration of yet another use of using a slow cooker. Very affordable and very efficient way of cooking, and something that you can set running in the morning, and depending on what setting you put it on, you can leave it, and when you come home in the evening you have your dinner ready. So far we've looked at savoury foods. We've had a look at a red lentil curry, and we've looked at a nettle soup. So today I thought we'd do something a bit sweeter, a little treat, a sweet treat. But I don't use sugar. Sugar is not in my vocabulary when it comes to cooking, but you can get sweet things without going for refined sugar. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to look at tropical rice pudding. And we can actually look at even a few variations of rice pudding just from what we've got here. So the ingredients we're going to use first of all is rice. And I'm using sushi rice just because it's what I have in the cupboard. This is a nice sushi rice I got from my Asian supermarket. I buy in bulk. I think it was around 12 or 14 pounds, can't remember now. It was a while ago, but I use it that way. It seems to be cheaper, a little bit cheaper than buying small packets at a time. But if you don't have sushi rice, you could use risotto rice, or of course pudding rice. That's absolutely fine. In fact, any rice would do, but I think the sticky glutinous rice just makes it a bit nicer. Okay, so we're going to use some of this. We're also going to use water, and here is my little tub of water. You can use tap water if you prefer. I prefer to use mineral water, and just make sure that the water is to your taste. We're also going to use apples. Now, I could use apples alone. I think that would be really nice. And you maybe listened to the radio series, I think it's called Change Just One Thing on BBC. I think it's BBC Two. And at one stage they did an episode on apples. And apples really are magnificent fruit. They're very useful for keeping you healthy. So I have a cooking apple here, but actually any apples would do. Sweet apples, just normal eating apples, are absolutely fine. And apples are great because they have a general sweetness, but any other flavours that you put in, they'll take on that flavour. So the thing that's making it tropical, I have some frozen tropical fruit here, which is a mixture of mangoes, papaya, and pineapple. And I made this one night before when I arrived home and found there was practically nothing in my pantry. But I had some frozen, this is a smoothie mix, a tropical smoothie mix, and I had some rice. So I made some rice pudding, and actually it was lovely. It was really, really good. But of course, you can find a lot of frozen fruits, and they're perfect because they don't go off. So if you buy fresh fruit, maybe by the time you go to eat it, it's gone off, it's gone moldy, it's gone soggy, whatever. So frozen fruits are really very useful. I have here blackberries, I have raspberries, and I have blueberries. Now, what I would say to you is really with the berries and fruit, what you can do is leave it until about the last hour in your slow cooker, just so that you're not cooking the living daylights out of them and getting rid of all the vitamins. Fruit really does not need long to cook, but it's from frozen, so it will need a little bit of time. So maybe the last hour, but play with it to your satisfaction. I also have some coconut oil. This is extra virgin coconut oil, which gives it a lovely creamy taste without adding butter or cream. And coconut oil is supposed to give many good health benefits. I've even heard studies that they show that it's actually useful for slowing down the onset of dementia. And coconut oil is very good because it doesn't suffer from being heated for a long time. You can use it to fry and use it in stir fries. In this case, I'm using it to give a coconutty taste. The extra virgin coconut oil definitely does have a coconutty taste. and a creaminess. If you are not so keen on the coconut flavour, you can use more refined coconut oil, just normal coconut oil, as opposed to the extra virgin. Okay, I'm also using some ginger to give it a lovely spicy, warm, just hug for the tummy type feel. It's really nice. Ginger, it's very good for the digestion, and apple and ginger are very good. I could use cinnamon, but I'm not using cinnamon today. Today I'm also using nutmeg. So nutmeg has, again, a lovely, warm, cuddly feeling in your tummy. It has a beautiful taste. It has a sweet taste. So all of these ingredients give you a really nice dessert. It is sweet without being overly processed sugar, and a slower release of the natural sugars than if you were to use your brown sugars or white sugars. If, however, you find that you really want more of if you have a sweet tooth and you want more sugar without adding sugar, sultanas or raisins are just perfect for that. Okay, so how many are you cooking for? Well, I'm cooking for rather a lot of people. There's myself and my husband and my 3 stepchildren, and they love their desserts. So I'm going to put a fair amount here. If you were sensible, you would use a cup. But I'm not that sensible. And I'm just putting a good amount. So I would say for every person, put a half cup of rice. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to actually pause this video and I'm going to go away and I'm going to give this rice a jolly good wash before we go any bit further. So I will meet you back on the other side of that. And here I am back again, having washed my rice. Believe it or not, yes, I have washed my rice. You can see it there. I like to wash my rice, at least give it a good fill up the tub and swirl it round and pour away. It is glutinous rice, it's sticky rice, sushi rice or pudding rice. So that will wash away some of the rice gluten, but it will also wash away any wee impurities or things that shouldn't be there. And if you notice, I've just given my slow cooker insert a nice wipe to make sure that it's not wet as it goes back into the heating cradle. Okay, now I'm going to add my water, and as you can see, I'm not measuring. I don't measure when I cook, but basically what you want to do when it comes to rice is make sure that the rice is covered, and then the way I do it, if you were to touch the rice, if you put your finger inside, you see the joints of your fingers. You don't want to just go up to the first finger, you want to go up to the second joint of the finger. So you're touching the rice, and there the water goes up to the second joint. And that is pretty perfect. You can use it the same for a rice cooker, but it just makes sure that you have enough water. Rice soaks up a lot of water, and of course the cooking of it will get rid of it as well. But because it is a slow cooker, it will retain a little bit more moisture than your standard rice cooker, so you can put slightly less water. But my way of thinking is better to have too much than not enough. So there we've got rice and we've got water. Now my stepkids are, they have sweet tooths, so I'm actually going to add a bit of raisins. I think actually technically these are sultanas, and I'm just going to take a handful. Again, these will plump up, and because they are dried fruit, I put them in at the beginning of the cooking, so it gives them loads of time to plump up and give their sweetness into the pudding. So I pop that in right there at the start. If you are health conscious and you would really like to turn this into a bit more of a health food as opposed to just a comfort food, then what you can do is add the likes of psyllium, and these are husks, they're psyllium husks, and what these do, they will actually thicken the rice pudding so it will become more almost solid, almost like a gel. But psyllium is very useful for cleansing the gut flora, so just keeping your intestines nice and clean. So hey, why not? Let's throw some psyllium in. Now this stuff is very dry and dusty when you get it in its pack. I have a bit of a tremor here, but I'll try to show you that. It looks like sawdust. Really, it has that constituency, but a little goes a long way. So I'm just putting a fistful of psyllium, and that will be plenty to just give it that little bit more fibre and help cleanse the gut. But it's very gentle, even though it looks like sawdust. When that plumps up in water, it will actually it will become very soft and gooey and gel-like. Another similar reaction you can get from chia seeds. Now these are milled chia seeds, but I quite like just the full chia seeds. And chia seeds have a similar effect. When you put them in a fluid, they will thicken the fluid. They create a kind of gel, and they almost look a little bit like frog spawn. Once they have plumped up in the fluid, they have a little sort of gel jacket around every seed. But once they're milled, they just have a more gellifying effect on the whole pudding. So again, I'm going to throw these chia seeds in now. I have my cooker up to high, so this won't take more than 4 hours to cook, and I'm just going to sprinkle 1 fistful of chia seeds in. So again, chia seeds are very useful for just cleansing the gut, but they're also thought to be really good for heart health. And you can get both psyllium and chia seeds in your health food shops. They're widely available, and you probably find them in most supermarkets as well. So I'll give you a look. I'm not recommending necessarily this brand. This brand is fine. I got this in Super Value, which you don't have in the north, I don't think. And I actually ordered this one, Natural Bio. I ordered it online for there you go. Okay, so I'm just going to stir them in a wee bit. Being very gentle. I'm being a bit naughty. I'm using a metal spoon, and this slow cooker has a Teflon coating, so I'm being really careful. You'd be much better to be using a wooden spoon, but this is what I had at hand. Okay, so I'm just going to pop the cover on there for now while I get the rest of the fruit and things ready. So I'm going to take my frozen fruit out of the picture for now. As I say, it should be added maybe just with an hour to go, I would say, with the cooking. You can play with it, but the longer it is, cooking, the more the vitamins can just get lost. You can cook vitamins out of fruit very easily. So how much ginger? Well, this is quite a lot actually. This is about a thumb joint's worth of thick root of ginger, or what do they call them? Is it root, ribosome, whatever? So actually my kids love ginger, and I love ginger, and we like that bit of heat. So we're going to go with that, but that's quite a lot. You could get away with half that. And if you don't like ginger, you can leave it out altogether. And we're just going to slice it nice and fine. I don't actually bother taking the skin off the ginger. I just make sure it's clean, unless it's all woody and nasty. And I just chop it up nice and fine. I general rule of cooking is you want everything to be pretty much the same size, and rice is quite fine, you know, it's quite small, so you don't want massive big chunks of ginger in, but just to slice it up so that it's about, maybe not quite as small as the rice, but nice and fine. Good. Smells gorgeous, and it has that lovely lemony quality as well. The ginger is lovely and warming, especially, I mean, this is spring, but it still feels like winter. There's still a chill in the air, and as you know, it's really good for the digestion. Even I've heard for travel sickness, if you take ginger tea, it can be very, very nice. Good. But even when we do have sushi, we're using sushi rice, we have sushi quite a lot. And my husband is a whiz at making sushi. But the thing that goes first is the pickled ginger. All the kids just go straight for the pickled ginger. And it's not just them, I do too. Good, so there you can see that once I have chopped up that thumb thickness of ginger, actually now that looks like quite a substantial little mountain, doesn't it? Yeah, so I'm going to plonk that in. I've already got my my slow cooker heating on high, but it takes its time, as the name suggests. Good, so I'll just add the rest there. So now I have one little nutmeg, and I'm not going to use anything like the whole nutmeg. I'm really just going to scrape one edge of it off. Now you could use a grater for that. I find actually I prefer just to use a knife. I feel I have a bit more control. So I'm going to just hold my nutmeg very carefully, tuck my fingernails out of the way, and I just scrape the edge of the blade down across. This nutmeg had already been started, so I'm just nibbling, and it works rather nicely. I'm just nibbling away the edge, and it makes just a fine powder. And nutmeg is a powerful flavour. I would definitely say that you can overdo nutmeg. So I think this is absolutely plenty, and you can see it's just enough. If I hold it there, it's just enough, a tiny little mountain that can sit on the side of the knife. I'll not come any closer to the camera because my hand shakes, but can you see that? It's just a teeny tiny little mountain. You can hardly see it. Can you see it? And I'll bung it in. Okay, and I just want to sprinkle. Just make sure that I'm not wasting any. Did you know that nutmeg, at the time of Queen Elizabeth I, nutmeg was the most expensive commodity in the world? People actually went to war over nutmeg. It was just so revered and such a wonderful flavour. And of course in those times they didn't have fridges, they just had cold houses and sort of holes in the ground to keep food good. So they used a lot of spices to actually try to hide the fact that the food was going a bit off. And nutmeg was sweet and aromatic, and it's a euphoric. It actually makes you feel a bit high. So use with caution. It could make you sick if you use too much, but a little bit just really adds something special to your food. Okay, so now on to the apples. So this is a Braeburn. I love Braeburns. They have a really piquant, slightly, quite acidic taste to them. And they have a really lovely roundness of flavour, whereas eating apples are more sweet, maybe more delicate, depending on which ones. Like if I went for an eating apple, I'd probably go for a Braeburn or even a Granny Smith. I think these ones or Granny Smith's. For the same, I like that slightly acid. And if you listened to that, just change one thing, you may have noticed that the skin of the apple is considered highly nutritious. It's very, very good. However, I find if you looked at this apple, you maybe can see that the skin is a bit manky. It's a bit scarred, doesn't look so good. So I'm actually going to take the skin off my my cooking apple, my Braeburn apple, but I'm going to throw in a couple of these other apples as well, and I'm going to keep the skins on for them. Now, if you had a potato peeler, that would be perfect, and I do have one, but not here. So I'm just being very careful and using my knife. I have a funny thing with apples. There's a name of the condition. Certain noises just make me feel absolutely, like nails down a blackboard. For a lot of people, nails down a blackboard is the thing. But for me, it's the squeak of food between my teeth. And so actually green beans, I really struggle to eat the long beans, because they squeak. And it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I just can't take it. I literally go goosebumps all over and cringe for quite a while every time I get a squeak between my teeth. And so when I was a child, I stopped eating apples for a couple of years because one in particular, as I ate it, it just kept squeaking and it did my head in. So, but I've obviously they're really a very useful and important aspect of nutrition, and they're widely available. So, so I just need to get over myself. And nowadays, I would eat an apple with the skin. Occasionally, I get a squeak. That's okay. So just get rid of my little peel there, and I'm just going to chop. I know I said that everything should be about the same size as the rice, but the fruit is the joyous part, and we've already thrown raisins in and they're bigger than the rice. So we're going to allow for relatively big chunks. I'm a great one for not over processing my food. I think it's important to, yes, cut it up, but the more you process it, the more, you're losing something, and your teeth are good at processing, so why overly chop? Good. So I'm just making nice, maybe centimetre wide cubes. It smells lovely, sort of fresh, lively smell. It's too easy when we're busy to just be living off of things out of packets, but there's lots of life force in fresh fruit and vegetables, and it's important that we get some of that into us. Good. So yeah, if you saw that, or if you listened to that radio program, just change one thing. And the amazing things that apples can do, just generally for your heart, for your cholesterol, blood sugar, very good for fighting cancer. I mean, just amazing. Okay, so I'm just going to give my hands a wee wipe here. And with cooking apples, the core is quite big, but I don't want to waste any apple, so I'm just cutting off the wee corners here. The Dutch call the core of an apple the klokhuis. I think that's really rather cute, because it's, yeah, if you cut through it, it has that lovely star. There, can you see the star? Which looks a bit like wheels or cogs in a clock. So I think clock house is really cool. How awesome is that? So anyway, now we're going to add some more of our just eating apples. And just apples are great filler. They're nice and sweet, and as I say, they take on the flavour of everything else that you put in. So I'm not bothering to take off the skin. I have washed and dried these apples before we began recording. Maybe just finish one before I start the next. I mean, if the skin really bothered you, you could remove the skin. What you can do is, though, you can peel the skin and then bung it in the oven and make some nice crispy apple skins, like crisps, which are really nice. Just an extra bit of fibre. It adds a little bit of colour as well. Okay. Now the apples will shrink in size a little bit with the cooking. But looking at this, that looks like quite a lot of apple. I'm wondering maybe I might just leave it at the 2 apples. This is how I cook. I know we're told, you know, give instructions, clear instructions, and how much you measure everything. I don't measure. I can tell you how to measure, but I don't measure. It's just not my way. Okay, so that's our apples in, and we've got our nutmeg in and our ginger in. So now we're just going to add the coconut oil. As I say, I'm going to leave this to cook for a couple of hours before I add the frozen fruit, just so that there is a chance that there's still plenty of vitamins and nutrients left in the fruit. If you cook it too much, it goes really soggy and pathetic, and just doesn't have that kind of plumpness, that memory of it being a fresh fruit. So I'm going to put, this is a dessert spoon. I'm going to put a dessert spoonful of coconut oil into the mix, just to add that little bit of creaminess. And there is that sort of ratio, comfort ratio, that equal amounts of sugar and fat are comforting. And this is, after all, a dessert. We're allowing ourselves a little bit of comfort. But all good stuff. Just let that in there. And I'll maybe give that a stir, maybe every hour. It wouldn't need it. You could just leave it, pop it in, go off to work, and come back and eat. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So I've just put some of my frozen fruit out there. This is, what one's this? This would be the raspberries, the frozen raspberries. But as I say, if I put it in at this stage, I think they would just be utter mush. They would give a nice colour to everything, but I don't think it's necessary to put it in just yet. So these are the frozen stuff is going to go back in the freezer until I'm ready to throw it in. So lid is on, and that's us done. We just have to add our frozen fruit in about 2 hours. So I'm going to let this cook for 4 hours and see how it is. And I'll put the fruit in, give it another 2 hours, and then 2 hours, 4 hours, and that should be done. And I will show you the results. So I love rice pudding. I think it's very comforting. It gives you a bit of slow release energy, but it also gives you that lovely sweetness that we all want from time to time. And some really lovely, good ingredients, good fibre, good nutrients. Should be a good evening. So I will share pictures of this when it is finished, and I hope you'll give it a go. Thanks very much, and I look forward to seeing you next time.